Chewy's really excited about the meme of the week. Check it out. What's up, everybody? Bill Tendo here, and we're going to bring you a brand new edition of the Nerd News today. So, first of all, if you haven't joined our Patreon and you would like to support the channel, boy, that would be swell. So, check it out in the link below. It's not required, but it is much appreciated. So, let's get right into the news for this week. And kicking us all off this week with our first story is going to be Netflix. Now, Netflix made a lot of news this past week because they announced an update to their policies and procedures. And this update basically says that every 31 days, you have to sign in from your home Wi-Fi address or your account will be locked. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have a large family. Between my wife and myself, we have 5 children and a grandchild. And so we have the maximum Netflix package, and we have for many years now. I think going back about 8 years, we started at like $8, and we're over $20 now, and it's becoming more restrictive. So a lot of people are having problems with this because maybe they have a non-traditional family and they don't all spend time under the same roof together. For example, I have a stepdaughter that's in college. She comes here to sleep about 4 nights a week. She goes to college, she works full-time, she comes here, she shows up, she sleeps, she gets something to eat, and she's gone again because she either has to go to school or work. Now, most of the time she's spent in her dorm room. That being said, how is she supposed to remember, if she's only coming here to sleep and eat a couple days a week, to sign in here? And if she doesn't, she gets locked out. And it's only an hour away, but that's not the point. It's a non-traditional family setting, I would say. It's also something a lot of people would experience. So people in a setting like this are going to be locked out of Netflix, and it's a whole ordeal to get your account unlocked after that. I'm not a fan of this policy. Not at all. I don't think it's a good policy. They're trying to cut down on password sharing, which has always been a thing with Netflix, and we all know that. I think they're misunderstanding the core reason people use Netflix in the first place. Because they're just trying to drag even more revenue because less people are joining Netflix monthly. Now, the problem with that is it's because there's a million other streaming services. So they're having trouble keeping up with the times. They're trying to find a way to increase revenue, which is cut out password sharing, and those people have to get their own Netflix accounts now. I don't think it's a great policy, because it's going to cause people like me who have been teetering on the edge of discontinuing Netflix to discontinue it. I don't want to deal with the headache of this. I pay a premium for multiple accounts so everyone in my family can watch Netflix, even if they're not in my house all the time. And with their history of canceling shows and getting rid of shows and then promoting shows that no one is watching, how much is too much before we cut the cord? Because isn't that what they were saying in the beginning? Get Netflix, cut the cord. Stream your movies and television shows, cut the cord, get off of cable. Well, now we have so many options for streaming, and everything is so fragmented, where at first everything was on Netflix or Amazon Prime, and now it's Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Disney, Paramount, HBO Max. You have to have so many streaming services that you are paying more than you did when you had full cable. And that's absurd, and I think Netflix is missing this point because they keep raising their prices. They keep doing things to cut out their user base to try to increase revenue when they're already making billions. I'm just ready to cut that cord. And I don't know about you guys, and I'd like to hear your opinions on it down below. Please, let me know. How do you feel about Netflix? Are they living up to their end of the agreement as you see it? Or Are they a money-hungry corporate interest these days? Let me know down below. I'd be interested to hear your take on this. So next up, we're going to talk about EA. We're going to talk about Jedi Survivor. Now, Jedi Survivor is the new Star Wars game that is about to be released. But, although it had a very close release date scheduled, it has been pushed back 6 weeks to April 28th. EA says that they are doing this because they are listening to the community feedback on what people want in the game. That being said, let's rewind a little bit to the launch of EA's Battlefront 2 for Star Wars. Because they said they were listening when Battlefront 2 was launched. And it was a disaster. Battlefront 2 was predominantly loot boxes and microtransactions to the point where no one wanted to play it. How was that listening to your community? Now, eventually, from community pressure after it launched, they started changing these things. And Battlefront 2 became a playable game. But it never quite recovered from how they launched it. And at the time, they said they were listening to community feedback. But EA has a massive history of money grubbing. I think they are one of the worst companies when it comes to video game development, without a doubt. For the most part, they release the same sports games every year, over and over, with a new name, and at most, especially if you look at FIFA, new uniforms and costumes. That's it. Madden gameplay has not significantly changed in 5 years. FIFA gameplay has not significantly changed in 5 years. As a matter of fact, there are 3 years in a row people like to point out about FIFA games that are just uniform changes. There's no difference in gameplay. It is the exact same game. So, EA has issues. EA has issues with buying development teams that are very successful on their own and then shutting them down. And a lot of times, they are talking about, okay, we're listening to the community. Well, they were listening to the community when they shut down Dead Space. The problem with that is not what the community wanted. They were lying. So, they had to bring back Dead Space in 2023 because the community actually wants it. They discontinued Dead Space a couple of years ago because they said they were listening to the community, which is not true at all. EA likes to buy development teams and shut them down so they have less competition. Let's be clear about that. Now, with that, we have the new Jedi Survivor game coming out, which, as I stated, has been pushed back for 6 weeks. They're not listening. I don't think the launch is going to go very well. I don't think it will be disastrous as Battlefront 2, but I don't think they're listening. I think there are much more things in play than they are telling us, naturally, so we're just going to have to see. But for that, we're going to cut over to Craig Jackson. Craig, what do you think about EA games?
EA sucks.
Huh, ain't that the truth? So, let's talk about Goldeneye. Goldeneye 007, Goldeneye on Nintendo 64 was a groundbreaking game. We all loved it back in the late 90s. We all played it all the time. It was a staple of college dorm rooms, for one. And that's because it was the first real couch co-op first-person shooter that you could fight against your friends. Side note, if you use Oddjob, you're a punk and don't know how to play the game. And we all know that. As soon as you pick Oddjob, we know you don't know what you're doing. It's like playing Bo Jackson on NES. We know. So, that being said, let's discuss Goldeneye. Because Goldeneye was released this week for both Xbox Game Pass and Nintendo Switch Expansion Pack. The game was originally developed by a company called Rare, which you may recognize from Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, and Conker's Bad Fur Day. Also Perfect Dark. They did another 007 game called The World Never Dies for Nintendo 64. Well, Rare was in a little bit of financial trouble at the end of the 64's lifespans, and Nintendo being a small partner, they offered to sell to Nintendo, and Nintendo said no. So Microsoft came along and scooped them up. So Rare started publishing for Xbox. You might recognize such games as Grab by the Ghoulies, Viva Pinata, and they were actually the development team behind all of the avatars and animations and everything for all of the Xbox Connect stuff. Not the best way to use such a phenomenal team, but the point is, now Microsoft owns the development team, they own the coding, Nintendo owns the game, it's a licensed property. This game was stuck for 25 years, the original version, and no one could release it. But in the last few years, Microsoft and Nintendo have become very friendly and have been doing cooperative things. So Goldeneye was released on the Switch and the Xbox. Now, myself, Nintendo fanboy, not gonna lie, I do play PlayStation, I do play Sega, I do play Xbox, but at the end of the day, I prefer Nintendo. So bad news for me, because the Nintendo Switch expansion pack version of the game is the lesser of the two. Xbox looks a little cleaner, runs a little better, and the controls are what they are supposed to be. Unfortunately, with Nintendo, for some reason, it was launched with the controls inverted. I don't know if that has been changed yet. I didn't even pick it back up. I'll stick to playing it on my Nintendo 64. I was disappointed. The game looks good. It actually looks like they may have upgraded it by running it through Unreal Engine. I'm not going to lie. That's kind of what it looks like to me. The graphics are better. The music's a little better. With one exception. The pause music, man, the sonar is gone. Everybody knows the GoldenEye pause music, and the sonar is gone from it. So no longer do you hear that boom. It's just gone, and it's odd to me. I think it's something that it's all ingrained in our brain, and we love that stuff. So with that being said, check out GoldenEye's release. It is on Xbox Game Pass. It is on Nintendo Switch Expansion Pack. This is the Nintendo 64 version of the game updated, and it's looking good. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. So, let's get into tech news. But before we do, congratulations to PlayStation and God of War Ragnarok passing 11 million copies sold. That is phenomenal. So it's great to see these days. The God of War franchise is an absolute classic. It's an absolute must. For me personally, I'm a classic gamer. God of War 2 is where it's at. But they continue to grow and expand the game series and bring in new people to play. My stepson started at God of War for PS4. So he's a huge fan, and I don't know if he's gone back and played the classic games, but they are continuing to do new things to bring in new players, which is fantastic. All right, with that being said, let's get into our tech news. Now, our tech news this week is a little bit to do with gaming and a little bit to do with technology. Mostly technology. Because what is happening is crypto miners are not making as much money as they once were, mining Bitcoin and stuff like that. So, what they have been doing is, in order to increase efficiency, they need new graphics cards. The old ones that have been running for 11 years, been running for 7 years, they have 300,000 hours ran through them, and they're just not performing as they should. Now, this is not a approval of data of crypto mining. I don't have an opinion on it one way or the other. What it is letting you know of the scandalous nature of what's happening. So recently, the markets have been flooded with cards, with graphic cards. And they all look brand new, but they're not. You really have to check what you're buying. These graphic cards, these guys are actually going out and painting the chip and re-lettering what is on the chip so that you don't know you're buying a 7-year-old card with 300,000 hours on it. This is insane. You're buying a piece of junk, you're paying a premium because it shows that it's brand new. It looks brand new, but it is not. This is very disturbing to me. I have a lot of friends that are into PC gaming who are constantly changing out their graphics card, changing out their sound card. You know, they need a better SSD. I don't know. I'm not a PC gamer. But the point is, you constantly upgrade. And now people are buying upgrades and they're not getting what they're paying for. They're being ripped off. I would think it would be the same as if you collected sneakers and somebody took a pair of non-Jordans and painted them in Jordan colors and tried to sell them to you as authentic. You're not getting what you paid for. With that being said, I want to bring up one more thing this week, and it's just something that jumped out at me. I'm a huge Legend of Zelda fan. Legend of Zelda VR. Now, this is a fan-made game that was released for VR, but it's actually the first Zelda game, and I believe they used the Quake engine. And so, the original Legend of Zelda game, you can play it in VR, which is amazing. I love to see what creative Zelda fans can do, such as the guy who ran Ocarina of Time through Unreal Engine. It's absolutely beautiful. But this is fully realized, fully released. You can download it now and play it. It's very interesting, so you should definitely check it out. Okay, everybody, with all that being said, please check out our new series on Wednesday night. It's called Forgotten Sci-Fi, where we talk about new, forgotten sci-fi books, movies, and TV shows. Also, again, Patreon link is down below. If you want to support the channel, we'll be most appreciative of that. And everybody, you have a great week, and we'll see you next Friday right here for the Nerd News.